everybody have a drink? You might need it to get through this. All right, thank you for inviting me to share my story tonight. Before I get started, here are a few things about me. I met my husband, U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams, when I was just 21. I'm the mother of 3 kids, including 2 teenagers, and I've survived the deadliest form of skin cancer, not once, but twice. But I got to admit, while those things took a lot of courage, none of them felt as scary as talking to you right now. I am not a professional speaker. I normally leave that to the handsome guy in uniform over there. But Deb Tolt was clear she wanted it to be my story, and not just my story, but hopefully it's funny and inspiring too, so no pressure. The skin cancer isn't funny. It comes with a lot of scary stats. Like, did you know nearly 100,000 people diagnosed with melanoma just this past year in the US? But keeping my sense of humor, along with my faith in God, was one of the main things that helped me survive it both times. The first time I was surprised by melanoma was just a few weeks after my daughter was born in 2009. I found a weird mole on my thigh, but didn't really worry about it because seriously, my whole body was weird during pregnancy. Thankfully, I mentioned it to my doctor though, and it turned out to be not just skin cancer, but melanoma. I was surprised, but I probably shouldn't have been. I mean, look at me, I'm a pale skin, blonde, green eyes. But as a teenager, I wanted that golden glow, so I used tanning beds a lot, like several times a week. In fact, all my friends did, and it was just normal. It wasn't the craziest fashion choice that I made in the 90s, but it definitely had the biggest long-term effect of my life. Fortunately, we caught it early, so all I needed to do was a simple surgery to remove it, and it was back to normal life. Well, as normal as it could be with 3 kids under 5. I didn't think about it too much after that because, like so many other moms, I was just more worried about my kids and their health, and second, because the doctors told me it's pretty rare to get the same melanoma twice, especially after you've gone a year or so out. And yet, 10 years later, that's exactly what happened to me. In 2017, Jerome was sworn in as the Surgeon General. I did not cheer like that. And so in January 2018, we packed up our entire household, our dog, 3 kids, including 2 disgruntled middle school boys, and moved from the relatively calm suburban life we had in the Midwest to the politics and traffic of Washington, D.C. One day after being there for a few months, I noticed 2 small lumps on my bikini line while shaving. But our new life in D.C. was crazy, and so I tried ignoring them for a while because I'm pretty sure that's how all health issues are probably solved, by just ignoring them. They didn't go away. So when I mentioned the bumps to a doctor friend, she immediately asked me if they were on the same side as my previous melanoma, which they were. I'll never forget the sound in her voice when she told me I needed to see a doctor immediately. She said, make it a priority, that this is serious. I went in the next day for an exam, still thinking it was nothing, and had a PET scan and exam. About 8 hours after my scan, I got a call while sitting in the middle school carpool pickup line for my boys, which is probably the worst place to get bad news ever. But I answered the phone. I had melanoma again, but this time it had spread. My whole body went numb. Jerome was out of town. My friends and family were 10 hours away in Indiana, and my kids were about to get in the car and expecting me to be their normal mom. But nothing was normal. I felt utterly wrecked and completely alone. Things moved quickly from there. Within a week, I had surgery at the National Institute of Health. They removed 12 lymph nodes and some surrounding tissue. The cancer was stage 3C. The diagnosis which still feels completely unbelievable to me, especially since just a week before that, I was joining Weight Watchers and worrying about how I wasn't going to be able to drink wine at night. It was just unreal, but it really was real. I started a year of immunotherapy, a type of skin cancer treatment, which you all know about, but I had my treatment at Walter Reed Hospital in DC. You guys, immunotherapy is truly a modern day miracle. I've never had to do chemo, and I'm sure everybody's aware how daunting it is. But I just feel so blessed that I was able to have effective treatment for my cancer without hair loss, nausea, long-term scary side effects of chemo. In fact, other than some exhaustion, headaches, skin rashes, dry mouth, I felt pretty normal through the whole year. I finished my treatments this past May. And I'm happy to report that I had a scan in July that showed no sign of cancer. But while I'm good physically, emotionally, it's actually been a little bit of a tougher recovery. We often think that cancer survivors are supposed to be happy and just grateful to be alive. And don't get me wrong, I am very grateful. But the reality is that my life's not an Instagram quote. It's real, and it's quite messy. The anxiety and depression that I've always struggled with became harder to control. It's taken hours of therapy, medication adjustments, and a lot of patience from my family, and a healthy dose of humor to get through this year, and that's okay. Cancer is not just a disease, it's a life-altering process. I hope that sharing my story can help people understand how complex melanoma diagnosis, treatment, and recovery can be so we can better support those going through it. I want busy parents to know that their health is important and they need to make it a priority. I want other women to know that they should trust their instincts and not try to push through when something's wrong. I want men to not be stubborn and to wear their sunscreen and book that medical appointment. I want other survivors to know that they don't have to put on a happy face, and there's help for the mental pain as well as the physical. And I want the medical providers to always promote prevention, and for everyone to know that the important programs that Impact Melanoma provides, because an ounce of prevention can save your life. And when prevention isn't enough, I want the researchers to keep working relentlessly, because I want everyone to get the same cutting-edge treatment that I received. And I want a cure, because most of all, I want everyone to be able to go home at night and hug their family members like I get to every night. So thank you for letting me share my story with you and your support tonight. That's fun. Because this is how we will all conquer melanoma, by working together with survivors, medical community, and political advocates. And finally, last thing, ladies, don't forget to shave your bikini line. Even in the winter, it might save your life.